Imagine your wife looking you in the eye and saying, "I want an open marriage so I can see my ex again." Most men would scream, beg, or try to fight it. But me? I smiled and said yes. What she didn't know was that my answer wasn't surrender. It was the start of my revenge. Because within weeks, I vanished from her life, leaving her with nothing but regret. My name's Daniel. I'm 40 years old, and I've been married to Rachel for 12 years. I built a comfortable life for us, a house in the suburbs, stable finances, and a future I thought we'd share forever. I was never rich, but I worked hard, owned a small construction business, and made sure we never lacked anything. Rachel was different from me in many ways. She was fiery, impulsive, and had a history of messy relationships before we met. But when we first got together, I thought she'd finally outgrown that chaos. She seemed ready for stability, or at least that's what I believed. For the first few years, things were fine. We traveled, we laughed, and we built memories. But around year 10, cracks started to show. She grew distant, spent more time on her phone, and started hanging out with a new group of friends I had never met. At first, I brushed it off as a phase, but then came the night she dropped the bomb. We were sitting in the living room when she blurted out, "Daniel, I think we should try an open marriage." I froze. "An open marriage?" I asked, trying to stay calm. Her eyes lit up like she'd been waiting for this moment. "Yes, we've been together for so long, and I just feel like I need to explore. My ex reached out recently, and that's when it clicked. This wasn't about exploring. She wanted permission to cheat with her ex, while keeping me at home like a safety net. I felt anger rising in my chest, but instead of exploding, I smiled faintly and said, "All right, if that's what you want, then yes." Her face lit up with surprise. She didn't expect me to agree so easily. And that was the moment my plan began. Over the next couple of weeks, Rachel threw herself into her new freedom. She dressed up more, stayed out late, and kept her phone glued to her side. She thought I was clueless, but I knew exactly where she was, with him. The same man she used to cry about years ago, the one who treated her like garbage. Now she was crawling back to him like nothing had changed. But here's what she didn't know. While she was busy chasing her ex, I was quietly pulling away. I met with my lawyer, gathered financial documents, and shifted money into separate accounts. I made sure my business, savings, and assets were secured under my name. I didn't tell her a word. Then one Friday night, Rachel came home glowing, her hair a mess, perfume clinging to her clothes. She looked at me almost smugly, like she expected me to ask where she'd been. Instead, I simply said, "I've been thinking. Maybe I need some space too." Her smile faltered, but she didn't question it. She thought she had me wrapped around her finger. 2 days later, while she was out again, I packed a suitcase, grabbed my essentials, and left. No fight, no explanation, just silence. I blocked her number, cut off access to our joint accounts, and moved into a rental apartment across town. It took less than 24 hours for her to panic. My phone lit up with dozens of missed calls, texts, and voicemails. At first, she was angry. "You can't just leave. We agreed to this." Then the tone shifted to desperation. "Daniel, please, I didn't mean it like that. Come home. We can fix this." But by then, it was too late. When the divorce papers hit her desk a month later, reality finally sank in. I had all the evidence I needed, her texts to her ex, proof of nights at his place, and even her own admission about the open marriage. The court favored me heavily. I kept the house, most of the savings, and full control of my business. She walked away with barely anything. And the best part? That ex she thought was her happily ever after? He ghosted her within weeks, used her for fun, then dumped her the way he had years ago. Meanwhile, I rebuilt my life, stronger, freer, and happier than ever. My so-called yes wasn't surrender. It was the setup for the sweetest revenge. Rachel thought she was opening the door to new love. Instead, she opened the door to her own downfall. She wanted an open marriage, and in the end, it opened her eyes to the biggest mistake of her life.